Very welcome to Lakelands on a cold but very dry winter's day for today's Bateman Cup final, All-Ireland Bateman Cup final between Terenure and Young Munsters. Dan Mooney will be in commentary alongside Neil Tracy. Neil, what kind of a game are we looking at?
Well, Dan, as you said, the weather is fantastic, but I think based on the pitch which we've walked across from over there where you were speaking to Sean Skean and Gerard Slattery, I mean, I think it's going to be a day for forwards. It is a very, very soft pitch here. It always is, just where based on the proximity to the lake. But, you know, over the winter, particularly down in some of those corners where the sun doesn't really get into it, it is particularly soft. It's not going to lend itself to fast-flowing running rugby, which I know Terenure like to do quite a lot as well. But I think it's going to be a day for the forwards. It's going to be heavy underfoot. And I think Young Munsters are going to quite like the surface here, I think.
Well, that was going to be my next question, is who does that suit better in terms of how they play? And we've seen both of these teams playing in the All-Ireland League. Young Munsters had the edge in Tom Clifford Park not too long ago. Terenure are the All-Ireland champions and the current holders of the Bateman Cup. A heavier pitch, tougher, slightly tougher to get out of those corners. Is that going to suit Young Munsters better, or is the home advantage, Terenure's familiarity with this ground, going to be holding through?
Well, you definitely can't count out the familiarity, but from what we do know about Young Munsters, they score a lot of tries off the pack. They've had an excellent line out, and you can always count on the Cookies to have an excellent line out and scrum. Terenure do have the familiarity here, though. They know the right corners to play in. They know the way the wind blows, the way the hill goes coming up towards the AstroTurf as well. So, I mean, it does lend itself to the way Young Munsters play from what we've seen of them so far this season, and particularly with the way that game went at Tom Clifford Park earlier in the season. But home advantage, as we've seen in the All-Ireland League and between these two sides over the last few years, is massive. If you go back the last 2.5 seasons, Young Munsters have won 3, Terenure have won 2 out of those 5 meetings, but all 5 have gone to the home team as well.
Two very strong teams. Are there players we should be looking out for specifically over the course of 80 minutes for either side?
Well, I'll talk from the Terenure side, because that's it's the side I know a little bit better. You can give your thoughts on Young Munsters, but from the Terenure side, one person I'm really looking forward to see is Jim White at open side flanker. He's making his debut for Terenure today. He captained St Michael's College in the Leinster Senior Cup last season. He had a shoulder surgery over the summer, which is why we haven't got to see him yet so far this season. Luke Closey, who is Terenure's top try scorer in the league, he's away at the moment. So a huge opportunity for a young player like Jim White to get in and get his chance as well. Obviously, there are a lot of great players. Jordan Coughlin always comes out on these on days like this.
Huge player, huge game player.
And also, just one person to mention then as well is Caelan Dooley on the bench for Terenure. Not sure how much we'll see of him, but I think there'll be a good crowd here, and they're going to want to see him off in style as he heads off to Chicago in a week or two's time.
Yeah, well, for Young Munster, then the same then with Shane O'Leary playing at 10, Shane also going off to Major League Rugby. We're seeing a lot of, and we're seeing the start maybe of Major League Rugby looking at the All-Ireland League and seeing the calibre of players and the standard of player in the league, the standard of play in the league, and thinking, yeah, you know what, these guys are quality. Is that something we're going to see more of, do you think, going forward?
I think we probably will, to be honest, Dan, because I think add in the fact that so many of the games are streamed now as well. There's access to the footage of these players as well. I was chatting to one of the coaches on the Chicago Wolfhounds who signed Caelan Dooley and Conal Boomer from Terenure, David Clancy. He's a Limerick man who I know very, very well. And he was telling me that, it was thanks to the footage. They were scouting Caelan Dooley at the time. And while they were looking at the footage, they were looking through these matches and they were going, who's this fella here? And it was Conal Boomer. So they've brought the two of them over as well. I think we are going to see more of it, like Terenure of Sean McNulty as well, who's gone over to Miami along with Shane O'Leary from Young Munster, and I think we will probably see a little bit more of it. Whether or not it's a good thing is another debate entirely as well, because obviously these are top quality players in the league, and we want to see the top quality players playing for the entire season and getting to the latter stages of the competition. And while it is frustrating that Terenure are losing players, Young Munster are losing someone like Shane O'Leary, who's been in excellent form at out half for certainly the second half of these block of games when he moved into number 10. Overall, it's exposure for the league, and it is people in other countries getting an opportunity to see what these players are doing. I would say one of the big reasons, I think Caelan Dooley said it himself, he was on Off the Ball earlier in the week, that he doesn't think he'd be going to Chicago if he hadn't put up 30 points on TV at the Aviva Stadium in the All-Ireland final a few months ago. So while it is frustrating on one hand, there is a level of exposure that the league is getting, and overall it reflects well on the league that so many teams from outside of Ireland are offering professional contracts to these players, and you have to remember as well, a lot of these guys are in early and mid-20s, and they might have missed out on opportunities to get into the provincial system. For them, this is an opportunity to be a professional player and to experience that lifetime, and it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. And I think in particular for Sean McNulty and Shane O'Leary, as nice as Tom Clifford Park and Lakelands are, it's not exactly Miami, is it?
Well, speaking of contracted players, Munster do benefit from seeing Shane McCarthy. Now you're looking at, as you're suggesting, probably a forward-dominated game, but Shane McCarthy's one of those players who really can change the shape of a game. He's got that talent, he's got an X factor about him. We're looking forward to seeing him getting out there. Is it a kind of day where that moment of magic might just change the shape of the game and decide where the trophy's going?
Yeah, I think so. And look, as I said, it was a forward-dominated game, but that's not going to stop either team moving the ball wide when the opportunity is there and when they want to. I know from having seen Terenure over the last couple of years that it doesn't matter what the conditions are. If they win turnover ball and there's an opportunity and there's an overlap and there's space outside, they're going to try use it, and they have the players to use it. The likes of Adam LeGroux, and they've got Colm de Butler and Peter Sylvester in the centre as well. Like, they have excellent players, and Collar Phillips, who we haven't actually mentioned as well, who's a former cookie, and that, I suppose, adds another layer onto the game.
Well, we will be back very shortly with full live coverage of today's game, but before we do that, we did catch up very quickly with both head coaches, Ger Slattery from Young Munsters, but first Sean Skehan from Terenure College RFC. Terenure head coach Sean Skehan with us. Sean, how have preparations been for today?
Yeah, good. Obviously, look, it's come after the Christmas break, so it's always going to be a little bit scrappy in terms of lads being away and so on. But a really good week this week. Had 3 sessions. Everybody back. Everybody really excited for what promises to be hopefully a great game of rugby, particularly with the conditions being so good.
A chance at a back-to-back Bateman Cup. Is that a pressure that your team have feeling, or is it a case of we're the champions and you have to knock us off our perch?
No, it's not pressure or that either. It's just a great opportunity to obviously win another All-Ireland competition. The club's 83 years old. We've won 2 recently last season, but prior to that, none. At top flight. So to put another one in any other year, bar last year, obviously would be probably the most successful season the club have had. So it's just a great opportunity. I think the players are really excited, and obviously to go back to back. Obviously we'd love to do it in the league as well. You just need to make sure your consistency of performance is really, really good, and we feel we have a great chance today if we can play to our strengths.
Any bit of revenge on your minds regarding the All-Ireland League match that was played recently?
No, to be fair, I've been coaching in the All-Ireland for I think about 6 years now, and every year that I've done that and played away, whether coaching Garryowen or coaching Terenure, I've never won in Young Munsters for an away game. So it's not, look, they're very, very good down there. We've been lucky here the last couple of years. We have managed to get on top, so hopefully home advantage will be a big plus for us today. But look, it'll all be done between the whistles, and Young Munsters will be more than capable. Look, we know the strength of their side and how well they're coached and everything like that, and they've got some pretty impressive URC players playing today as well. So we're just going to have to try and manage that as best we can and play to our strengths, as I said.
Young Munster head coach Ger Slattery, can you give us an idea of what it's going to mean to the club to get a win today?
Yeah, I suppose, look, you're straight into there. It would be huge. It's been well documented, 96 years since we won it, so it'd be massive for the club, for the players involved, for the supporters, everyone that's involved in the club. It's something that has great history. We sing about it, as you know, so it's about time we won it at the same time. But just kind of focused on the task now. Is
that history playing a part in preparations for it?
A little bit. Look, I suppose you have to mention these things, don't you? It didn't go unnoticed, so it has been mentioned. We looked at little bits through the team that won it, and it's obviously so long ago, you know what I mean? So it was mentioned, but we didn't dwell on it either. This is a different group. We're trying to make our own history, and our own achievements are important now.
With the match being played against Terenure not too long ago, is there an expectation of the same again, or are you looking for something a little bit different out of Terenure this time around?
I think it'll be a different game. The nature of it is it's now a cup game. It's a cup final. It's on in Lakelands. The last game was at home, obviously, in Tom Clifford Park. And if you look back at I think the last 6 or 7 meetings between the two of us, the home team has always won. So that's the challenge for us today, coming into the backyard of Terenure, the holders of the Bateman, All-Ireland champions. So we're well aware of the task, but one we're looking forward to.
Okay, so we've got heads, tails, special one for the occasion. Alright, you like that?
Yeah.
Heads. Heads it is, so do you want to choose end or kick? You play away from the clubhouse and you guys kick. We'll kick off then. Yeah, you're kicking towards the clubhouse. Yeah, perfect. Right, lads, look.
That was the coin toss. You've just seen what young Munsters have elected to play from the clubhouse end, which is the right hand side of your screen, up towards the AstroTurf pitch far side. Dan Mooney on commentary alongside Neil Tracy. Neil, that decision from young Munsters, that surprise you? Is that the smart choice, kicking away from the club in the first half?
Yeah, look, there always is. There's a little bit of a hill playing up towards the church there. Coming back down in towards the clubhouse, you probably want that in the second half, and I think also with the way the sun is at the moment, it's just peeking over down in that far side, and by the second half it'll probably be gone as well. So I think at that stage, having that out of your eyes, get that out of the way in the first half, and kind of put that little bit of sun. There is a blinding sun, it's tucked in behind the trees a little bit, but with the way those trees are just in between where we are here at the side of the pitch and the lake, there will be a couple of little blocks where it's going to poke its way through during the first half, and that's just going to make fielding a little bit difficult throughout the game. So I suppose not having to deal with that in the first, putting that onus on Terenure in the first half, and probably not having to deal with it much in the second half is probably a wise call.
The young Munsters team still out on the pitch, completing their warm-up and preparation with just 5 minutes to kick off in this All-Ireland League Bateman Cup final between young Munster and the home side, Terenure, here at Lakelands in Dublin. Terenure have made their way back into the dressing room to finish their preparations. The teams we will go through very quickly, starting with the home team. Terenure College RFC will line out with a front row of Campbell Classen, Levi Vaughan and Adam Chute. Their second row is Harrison Brewer, who captains the side alongside Matthew Caffrey. And the back row, Adam Melia, James White and Jordan Coughlin complete a very strong back row for the home side and current Bateman Cup holders. Alan Benny is at scrum half with Callum Smith at out half. The centres are Peter Sylvester and Colin de Butler, and the winger Connor Phillips, former young Munster man. The other wingers Adam LeGroux with Aaron Egan at full back. Young Munster have David Begley, Stephen McLaughlin and Keenan Knox in the front row. The engine room is Tom Goggin and Sean Rigney. Back row is Captain Alan Kennedy alongside Fintan Coleman and Ruan Quinn. Jack Lyons starting at scrum half, and Miami bound Shane O'Leary will be at 10. In the centre, Keegan Christian Goss, partners Harry Fleming. The wingers are Shay McCarthy and Oisin Pepper, and Aidan Shorthall, having an outstanding season for the team in black and amber, will be the full back. To look at the benches, Terenure have Tom Stewart, Conan O'Donnell, Conor McCormack as replacement front rows, Mike Murphy, Tom Coughlin, Stephen O'Neill, Caelan Dooley and Craig Adams also filling out the bench. Chris Moore, Harrison Allen and Conor Bartley are the replacement front rows for young Munster, alongside John Foley, Donegal Callahan, Cian Casey, James O'Brien and James Horrigan. Looking at those two teams, do you see either team having an edge, Neil?
I don't. It's two very, very evenly matched teams, Dan. I think as we said earlier on, you look at the young Munster side and there's a lot of beef in that pack, and there's a couple of Munster contracted players in there, the likes of Keenan Knox and Ruan Quinn, who I'm really, really looking forward to seeing as well. But also just then like the old stalwarts, the likes of an Alan Kennedy at captain as well, and they have quality in the back line as well that I think maybe you might sometimes forget when you're talking about young Munsters, because you always just associate them with being such a hard forward physical team. I mean, Shane O'Leary is an experienced operator at number 10 as well there, and the likes of Shay McCarthy as well, who's been released by Munster and has looked quite good in the few games he's had with them so far this season. On the Terenure side, it's quite a settled pack. You look at that front row, Campbell Classen, Levi Vaughan and Adam Chute, they're pretty much locked into those 1, 2, 3 spots nearly week on week, and and they're all All-Ireland League winners as well as the teams come out. What I am looking forward to seeing though in the Terenure pack is Jim White at open side flanker. It's a debut for him, missed all of the season so far. He's a new signing, having finished up at schools with St Michael's last year. Luke Closey is away, so he's given a debut here. Maybe it might be a little bit soon, having come back in off the shoulder surgery. They might have wanted to maybe give him a run off the bench, but needs must. And what a way to test yourself out than in a cup final against the Cookies.
All-Ireland Bateman Cup final. We await young Munsters returning to the pitch. Terenure have made their way out. Referee, the man in the middle today, is Johnny Erskine from the Ulster branch of referees, and he may have his work cut out for him. We're still seeing the supporters for either side filling in. You sum up, Neil, a little bit about what it would mean to either one of these sides to be lifting this trophy by the end of 80 minutes?
Well, I think from a young Munster point of view, it's very, very easy to sum up what it would mean. You're talking about 1928 since their one and only Bateman Cup final. I think that's all you really need to say. And they're a side that have such a big history around the Munster Senior Cup, 3 in a row for them as well. It goes without saying they're going to want to do it. Terenure, as much as they're used to winning trophies over the last year or so, they're still not that used to it. It's still a very, very new feeling for the people in the club to be on an All-Ireland level, winning competitions like the Bateman Cup last year and like the All-Ireland League back in May as well. Like, they're not in any way used to winning this. It's going to be as big a celebration as it was this time last year, and I think we've got the occasion that maybe the Bateman Cup final didn't get last year, when it was a Friday night, having had to move up onto the AstroTurf pitch, and there was probably a gulf between Terenure and Buccaneers on the day. I think what we have here today is 2 really, really evenly matched teams on a cracking day for rugby, and I think we're going to have a brilliant match.
Both teams semi-finalists. Obviously Terenure went on to win the competition last season, but consistent semi-finalists over the last few seasons. The calibre between these 2 teams, not much between them. 2 Division 1A sides, 2 teams capable of producing big moments and big wins. Both teams now out on the pitch. This is going to be an exciting 80 minutes of rugby. Whether you're a young Munster man, a Terenure College RFC man, or a neutral, this is the game of rugby to be watching in Ireland today. The best of the clubs and the best of club rugby on offer for the country and the world to see online here with Irish Rugby Television and the Club Scene podcast with Energia. The referee waiting for a signal as the touch judges get themselves in place. Johnny Erskine says it's nearly time, raises one hand, sharp blast on the whistle. And Smith gets us underway, kicking deep towards the young Munster 22. Collected a little sloppily, a little scrapily, but still collected all the same. Young Munsters carrying to build an exit as that sun beams in on top of them. Jack Lyons at the back of the ruck. Terenure fans call to use Lyons' kick. Is going to drop for Connor Phillips. Well collected and immediately hit. Alan Benny at the back. Out to Campbell Classen. It comes back on the Terenure side, perhaps not the way they would have wanted. David Begley with the tackle, and Alan Benny is at the base yet again. Moving it to Callum Smith, and Smith moving it outside LeGroux, and Connor Phillips. Connor Phillips has his hands on it, looking to come back inside, and suddenly Terenure are on the rampage, and the ball is just skittering forward and loose and gobbled up by Keegan Christian Gosson. It looked as though the try line might be begging for Terenure, but young Munsters have turned it back over and escape. Potential try-scoring opportunity for Terenure very early on in this game. Munsters want to slow this one down a little bit with Lyons at the back. The clearing kick from the scrum half finds touch, and Terenure decide this time to slow it down a little bit and see their set piece into action. Pulsating start, Neil.
It certainly was, and young Munster, they'll be mightily relieved to get away without conceding a try there, and they did brilliant to scramble back and turn the ball over, but they are in trouble. I think Shane McCarthy is going to have to go off there as Terenure broke through. I missed the player who it was going through because I was keeping my eye on Shane McCarthy. He got up slowly off the ground after a pretty big collision, and he just seemed to stumble. I think he's getting up and he's going to carry on again, but he didn't. He looked a little unsteady on his feet there from what I could see for a moment or two. He's walking back into position at the moment, but he looked to be in a bad way. And I know we're talking about club rugby, but Graham Rowntree wouldn't have liked to have seen that as well, given Munster's injury problems at the moment.
Terenure's line out was a little bit shaky, and young Munster have turned that ball over, getting hands back on it inside their own 22. Looking to build and carry out. Back to O'Leary, the pass goes, and O'Leary puts his boot on that one. Doesn't get quite the yards he would have liked out of it into touch.
Yeah, from the angle we were at, it looked like he got a really, really powerful strike on it, but probably just didn't get the angle that he would have wanted, and it's gone out of play about 30 metres out from the Terenure line, over on that far side of the pitch where the sun is going to be at their backs. It's more of an issue for Levi Vaughan throwing in, and we saw them cough up the first line of the day. This time round, they make it stick.
Levi Vaughan to the front and Terenure go to the backs, and it's through the hands and lovely little offload, and Phillips steps this way and steps that. Connor Phillips a step back inside, broken through the tackle of Shane O'Leary, gets all the way to the line and touches it down for the opening score of the game. Connor Phillips, quick feet. The opening try scored for Terenure against his former club, and that's what he is capable of doing with ball in hand. Looking up, heads up rugby, and Phillips breaks through to open the scoring for Terenure College RFC.
Yeah, it had to be Connor Phillips. He'll have enjoyed that one. He looks a little bit of pain I think he landed awkwardly going in there. He's holding his shoulder, but that was a brilliant try. There was a lovely strike move. Got the clean ball off the top at the line out, managed to work it into midfield, and I think Phillips just managed to get around the side of one of the Young Munsters defenders. Someone fell as well as they were covering back as well, and that just opened up a little bit of space. And from there, we know Connor Phillips, former Sevens player, he has the speed to get through, and it set Terenure up with a nice lead to start this off after just a few minutes, and Callum Smith about to kick the conversion.
Not the start that Young Munster would have liked. The ideal start for the home side and current Bateman Cup holders, as Callum Smith adds the extras and makes it 7-0 to Terenure College. Early doors in this game. Young Munster will have to collect themselves. They want to come back into this game. Not the ideal start for the travelling team.
No, and Terenure playing well with good pressure there, just pinning them back and forcing them out into the far side of the pitch, where, as we mentioned, Shane O'Leary just wasn't able to get the angle right on that clearance kick. But this is an opportunity now for Young Munsters to get their hands on the ball and establish a little bit of possession in Terenure territory.
Terenure just about securing their own ball. It's good work from Harrison Brewer. Matthew Caffrey acting as scrum half on the last phase. And Alan Benny brings it back to Callum Smith, and Smith puts a big boot on it. Lands comfortably, and the return kick is going to drop inside the 22. Callum Smith collects it for the mark called, and well called. Oisin Pepper is on the ground receiving some treatment. Looks to be in some discomfort.
Yeah, that's an ankle, it looks like, Dan. He's not in any decent level of comfort at the moment. I didn't get a chance to see what happened to him there. It might have been at the bottom of a ruck or something, but he seems to have trapped his ankle in there somewhere, and I'm not sure how much more of this game he's going to be playing. He doesn't look like he's in much of a state to be carrying on. As we mentioned, Shea McCarthy, in pretty much the opening minute of the game as well, went down injured, so Munster having to deal with a couple of knocks already.
That's the kind of nature of the game these days. It's attritional rugby at this level. It's big hits, and unfortunately,
yeah. And I see Keenan Knox is calling for a change there. He's been helped off, and he's not going to be continuing. And we're going to have a change here.
Well, you hate to see it. Very unfortunate for Oisin Pepper. Keenan Knox consoles him, and that will be the end of the game for Young Munster number 11, Oisin Pepper. Carried out.
James O'Brien has come on for him onto this left wing.
James O'Brien, the replacement. And we will restart with the mark kick from Callum Smith. Puts a boot on it. Doesn't get a whole lot out of it.
You can hear Jack Lyons setting the mark there way up is what I think a few people can pick him out saying. But this is going to be about 30 or 35, 40 metres out, 35 metres out from the Terenure line. Just tucking in from the shade as well, so the light and the sunshine shouldn't be too much of an issue for the jumpers here. But a first opportunity, as we said, for the Cookies to establish a bit of possession and show us what they can do.
Young Munster's first set piece of the game. Tom Goggin makes the call, and to the tail it goes, and it's overthrown and collected by Levi Vaughan at the back of the Terenure line out. Alan Benny looking to get Terenure moving. Smith through the hands, and Terenure suddenly on the attack to Butler, outside to Legru to Phillips. Connor Phillips stepping this way and that. Young Munsters want to get close on him, and they do. Ball is out and to the back and through the hands. Callum Smith tipping it on. Levi Vaughan getting through work yet again. The hooker. Ball is out at the back, tipped up. Harrison Brewer stepping this way and that. Callum Smith into the hands of Legru. of Aaron Egan, excuse me. Jordan Coughlin hammered in contact, and the ball available, and Young Munsters look to get hands on it, and Young Munsters have the penalty. Got hands on the ball on the deck. Coughlin a little bit isolated. Young Munster have done well to turn that one over. Frantic stuff.
Yeah, it was an excellent counter ruck there. I missed what Terenure player it was. Just for a half second took his eyes off the ball. Yeah, you see Harrison there just turned his back on it, and it was an excellent counter ruck. I'm missing the Young Munsters player who it was that got in and just forced him to go off his feet. But that was a quality turnaround after what looked like a really, really promising Terenure break. Levi Vaughan picked the ball up off the back of that overthrown line out, and when he gets ball in space, he's really, really quick, and he's got such a low centre of gravity as well that he's really, really hard to stop. And as we mentioned before the game as well, once they had that turnover ball and that ruck established around midfield, just how quick they were to try and move the ball out wide and get it out to Conor Phillips on that left wing. Well defended by Young Munsters, though, it has to be said.
Shane O'Leary's penalty kick takes Young Munsters to the edge of the 22. That's a better line out for the Limerick outfit. Tom Goggin taking it off the top and setting up the maul. Young Munster look to drive to the back of it. Stephen McLaughlin goes, and he breaks off the side and goes at Alan Penny, eventually to ground. Young Munster's making some yards. David Begley on the carry. Terenure look to interfere. Jack Lyons does well. Fintan Coleman. Young Munsters moving it through the paces. Keenan Knox. Penalty advantage coming to Young Munsters as Alan Kennedy carries. Kennedy still upright. Strong carry from the Young Munster captain. O'Leary gets his hands on it and steps it outside. Shortall looking for the offload. Nobody home. To deck he goes, and the referee says we'll come back, no advantage. Young Munster penalty. You would think a chance to put 3 points on the board.
It is, just settled themselves down. That was a really, really good attack, though. It was a really sharp maul, lovely and tight, and maybe I might question, did they break from it a little bit too early? I know Stephen McLaughlin might have spotted just a half gap down that blind side, and he's been in great try scoring form this season. 6 tries over the course of the first 9 rounds of the AIL. Not quite Dylan Donnellan territory, but still pretty good going for 6 tries in 9 games. But as we see there, yeah, Shane O'Leary wisely calling for the tee, and this should be an easy tap over for a player of his abilities.
I mentioned a couple of times in pre-match he is Miami bound for the start of the Major League Rugby season.
I have to ask, what does Miami have to offer that Lakelands doesn't on a nice January afternoon like today?
More important question, what does Miami have to offer that Tom Clifford Park doesn't?
I can't give you an answer there, Dan. I honestly can't.
This one just to the left hand side of the post, and should be straightforward for the Young Munster 10, and a chance to get the visitors off the mark. Tit for tat a little bit in the early stages of this game. Both teams still settling into the contest.
It is, and it's been quite enjoyable this first 10 minutes. Young Munster, they'll be having conceded that try early on and also picked up a couple of knocks along the way as well. They'll just be pleased to get those points on the board and settle themselves in after Terenure had looked really, really good early on. But as we've seen and as we said before the game at Young Munsters, if they can get on top of you in terms of the penalty count, that'll give them the opportunity to get down into your 22. And if you're giving them set pieces down in your own 22, that's where they can really, really punish you.
7 points to 3 then. We're 10 minutes into this game as Callum Smith looks to kick off Terenure.
It's a good kick.
Goes just about the 10 and returned for Young Munsters, and it looks as though it's been knocked on as it was tipped back and then forward, and so the put into the scrum will be Terenure's. Lovely kick to restart from Callum Smith, just about gets the 10 and puts Young Munsters under pressure.
You couldn't have placed the ball in a better position if you're talking about that kick, where it's down in towards that little corner, where that pocket of the corner where the sun is still poking its way through, and it's just so difficult to field. Didn't get an enormous amount of height on it, but in terms of the placing, like you see where that scrum is now, you're just a yard or two inside the 10. An absolutely ideal kick, and it was a tough one for Young Munsters to deal with, and this is the type of situation that Terenure love to be playing in, where it's first phase, it's a set piece, not necessarily in the 22, but it gives them an opportunity to move the ball wide.
That centre partnership of Peter Sylvester and Colm de Butler will be looking to get at it. Young Munster's scrum is huge, though they've done really well. Tipped over the top, little dink. Ball is going to go all the way over the dead ball line, and it's grounded. And Young Munster's, well, the scrum was huge. Terenure had to get it out, and they did. And the little dink over the top was the smart move. The ball just travelling.
It was Ben. He didn't have too many options there with the scrum turning like that, but that was a really, really strong drive from Young Munster. I think it was David Begley getting the shove up on the Young Munster's loose side and just turning Terenure basically back down that blind channel where they didn't really have any options but for Alan Benny to break down and run into a blind corridor, really.
Jordan Coughlin catches and gives it to Smith, and Smith to Aaron Egan, and Egan looking to step up and met by Keegan Christian Goss. Alan Benny to Peter Sylvester. Sylvester to Callum Smith. Lovely little reverse pass from the centre. Back into midfield as Terenure look to build at the 10. De Butler, huge hit. And ball skittering loose. The fly hack goes back into Young Munster's hand, and the charge down, and the referee says, hang on a tick. No, hang on, just 1 second. And will be a knock on. And another scrum accidental offside is the referee's ruling on the pitch.
Yeah, I think it was best to just blow that one up because it just became completely chaotic when we see. Yeah, that's just what happened there. It was the kick through from Terenure. It was blocked down, I think it was from Harry Fleming, and just pretty much landed straight into the paws of one of his teammates who couldn't really get out of the way. Accidental offside, and we're going to restart here with a scrum, but a pretty chaotic and messy kind of 60 seconds there, Dan.
Terenure showing their ability to move that ball quite well, and Young Munster showing their appetite for defence. A couple of big hits in there and no real gain for the home team. And so the scrum.
They've been really, really physical in defence, but they haven't been getting off the line necessarily that quickly. And I think if they can just get a bit more aggression into that line speed, they could probably put Terenure under a little bit more pressure. Because as I said, when they have been meeting them in the contact area, it's been impressive. But if they can just get off that line a little bit quicker and meet them closer to the gain line, they might get even more change out of it. But first, Terenure need to win this scrum, which Young Munster started quite well at.
Alan Benny will feed. Jack Lyons watching. And the referee says that's an early engagement from the visiting team. Free kick to Terenure. Alan Benny, all the experience in the world. He's not in any rush. He says, hang on a second. We'll have a little chat about this. What way do we want to play this? And it will be scrum again. The opportunity, as Neil Tracy pointed out, in the last scrum for first phase strike play, which is I think Terenure enjoy.
For the sake of mischief, I wouldn't have minded if they had just chucked up a Gary Owen right down into that corner where the sun is still peeking through and put someone under a bit of pressure. But look, they want to play ball. They don't want to leave it up to chance. We'll give them an opportunity to do it here.
This time a more steady scrum from both sides, and Alan Benny into the hands of Sylvester, and Sylvester skipping it out to Aaron Egan. Egan flinging it out to Legrew, and it is indeed a forward pass. Aaron Egan under some pressure, the full back, as the line came up to meet him, and the pass thrown forward, and an opportunity wasted for Terenure.
Yeah, I think it was just about gone forward. As Aaron Egan stepped inside that tackle to throw the pass, it just slowed him down a little bit, and Adam Legrew just kind of got ahead of the pass a little bit, and it forced Aaron to just throw it. It was one of those ones where it's tough to tell off the camera replay alone, but I think it's probably a fair call. You could see Adam Legrew as he was walking away shaking his head, didn't really agree with it, but it was close to being an exciting opportunity for Terenure there. We can see when they do get the ball wide and get it into open space that they have players who are very, very dangerous. But let's see what Young Munsters are like now on their own shove.
Lions with the feed. To the back, and Shane O'Leary, and O'Leary puts the big kick up. dropping for Egan. Aaron Egan underneath catches well and decides to run it back and sees what's in front of him. Alan Kennedy steps up and makes the hit. Alan Benny to Adam Levi Vaughan, and it's through the hands, and eventually De Butler kicks it, bounces conveniently for the men in black and amber, and up to the edge of the 22. Young Munster go. This time the referee deems the Terenure counter ruckers to be off their feet. And the Munsters get a penalty, and that's a freebie.
Yeah, it is, and it was a nice kick initially from, I think it was Colm de Butler. It just sat down into a bit of a no man's land. As we see the replay here, it was the tackle coming in from Peter Sylvester. Yeah, and it was just, I think it was, who was that? That was Adam Legrew, I think, who just couldn't get out of the way in time and couldn't roll away. Looks a fair call from our referee, Johnny Erskine.
So Young Munster spent the majority of this game inside their own half. Will have to put into the line out at the 10. And a chance to try and build. Sun in the eyes. Well taken off the top. Tom Goggin. Munster looking to move, and that maul does start to move. The Terenure defence creaking just a little bit as Young Munster's maul starts heading towards the halfway line. Urged on by the visiting supporters. Young Munster's making big ground now and still going eventually. Taken off the back from Stephen McLaughlin. Young Munsters need a scrum half, and Alan Kennedy acts, popping it up to Keenan Knox. To ground, the tight head goes. Jack Lyons to Tom Goggin. Goggin on the deck. Young Munsters go down the blind this time, and Shane O'Leary through some hands. Big carry from Ruan Quinn. And the ball stripped from Ruan Quinn, and eventually Alan Benny just puts the boot on it. Is there anyone home for Young Munsters? They have to chase all the way back. Bouncing awkwardly for Shane O'Leary. Collects it and puts his boot on it. And he's going to put that one to touch. It's a superb clearing kick from Shane O'Leary.
It is. Shane's done really, really well there. That ball was bobbling around and just going left to right and coming across the way from him. And he did really well to just get back, turn and take a quick snap kick. It was Harrison Brewer who made an excellent turnover as the jackal just inside Terenure's own half. Quick ball out, and Alan Benny just popped a kick down in towards the 22 as we see a replay here of Shane O'Leary just quickly turning, having to come back around onto his right as well, and got a good touch.
Well taken off the top. And Terenure have ball again, yet again. Loads of possession and territory for the team in home. And Connor Phillips onto the Legrew, and Legrew looks to step outside. It's a really good covering tackle, had to be. And Terenure can sense an opportunity. Peter Sylvester on the carry. Alan Benny to Callum Smith. Smith inside to Campbell Klassen. Klassen hit, and that one looked to be just above sternum height. Just above sternum height. And that is a high tackle. For those not familiar with the amateur game, sternum height is the point above which you can't tackle. Typically considered to be a high tackle if it's shoulder or above in the professional game. For those unfamiliar with the amateur game, sternum height is as high as you can go.
Yeah, that looks a fair call. It was just a little bit high, standing up in the tackle. There didn't look to be any contact with heads or anything like that, so just a penalty only is the fair call. I do want to go back actually, because from the Terenure turnover and moving that ball out wide, we were probably talking about their attack, but that maul that Young Munsters got off the line out, probably about 10 metres inside their own half, and brought it probably to 10 metres inside the Terenure half. That was seriously impressive, just metre by metre creeping their way up, and it has Simon Malone's fingerprints all over it, who knows Terenure very well, having coached them last season, and has now moved back home to Limerick, and he'll be pleased with that one.
Callum Smith's long-range penalty is a good one for the home side. And the lead for Terenure stretched now 10 points to 3. About 20 minutes into this game.
Yeah, we talk a lot about Caelan Dooley's kicking ability, and I think what probably gets lost a little bit is that Callum Smith is a pretty damn good kicker himself. That's now 44 points on the season so far. If you add in this conversion and penalty, there's one try in that as well, but he's a pretty reliable kicker all the same, and he's been a great addition to Terenure since joining from Malone at the start of last season.
Shane O'Leary will restart for young Munster. That's a good kick, but it's a little bit loose from the Terenure players in the backfield, and Callum Smith has to carry up to the edge of the 22. Eventually popped back. Aaron Egan puts a boot on it. Well collected. Aidan Shortall. Pass a little bit high, but young Munsters look to carry back out. Big hit in midfield. And young Munster looking to come down the blind side. Looping pass is thrown out to James O'Brien, the replacement. O'Brien stepping back into
Great
traffic
tackle.
and absolutely murdered in the tackle. Big hit in midfield from Harrison Brewer, getting through his work. The Terenure captain, O'Leary, little dink over the top, looks to get onto it himself, and Paul pops up. Smith to De Butler, outside to Connor Phillips. Phillips wriggling this way and back inside. Terenure moving that ball well, hands on it. Referee not having it from Alan Benny, no advantage. That carry from Caffrey. Smith in midfield, and it's a poor pass, and young Munsters have turned that over, and it's loose and bouncing and bobbling, and the referee says there's no advantage there, and so the knock on from Terenure. That's that line speed pressure you were talking about, Neil. Young Munsters coming up quick and making nuisance of themselves.
It is, and the pass just down a little bit low that Harrison Brewer had to reach down and just try to get his fingertips on, and literally as the ball was coming into his hands, he was met with an absolutely crunching tackle. As just a couple of moments before that, he put in a huge hit as well on, I think it was James O'Brien for young Munsters. But back and forth a little bit at the moment. I suppose the conditions starting to have an effect where the pitch is playing a little bit slow. We're seeing a lot of rucks maybe taking their time, and in fairness to Johnny Erskine, the ref, he's giving teams an opportunity to roll out of there, and he's keeping the whistle in his pocket for maybe an extra second or two, just to allow teams to get out of there, because on a pitch like that it can be very, very difficult if you find yourself at the bottom of a ruck to get out quickly. You
got to say, we've seen the decision-making process from referee Johnny Erskine, and it looks to be a good one. It's always important to kind of give these moments when there's a young Munsters player at the back of a ruck. Alan Benny wants a penalty, but as long as the referee can see the effort being made to get out of the way, he's happy to let the game go.
Well, I know Alan Benny well. He always wants a penalty, so you need to pick your battles there.
O'Leary's big pass outside. It gets young Munsters moving down the wing with Shea McCarthy. Calls for forward from the Terenure fans ignored. And young Munsters getting an attacking opportunity inside the Terenure half. Not too many of these so far in this game. Begley is on the deck for young Munsters. O'Leary through the hands. McCarthy popping it up for Keegan Christian Goss. It's Jack Lyons into midfield it goes, and Keenan Knox hit heavy and low. That one will have hurt. O'Leary shoveling it on. Young Munsters going through the hands. It's thrown. It's a little loose. Young Munsters have lost yards. That Terenure defence doing really well, as Begley offers himself to carry yet again. Jack Lyons has decided we've been playing too much of this one. We're going to put the boot on. And the box kick is going to drop outside the 22. Really well taken from Aaron Egan. Just about tackled from Shea McCarthy. And young Munster's defensive line this time speeding up as Caffrey offers himself and carries well. Alan Benny looking for his out half, and Smith puts a boot on it. That one's high and hanging and really well collected from Shane O'Leary. Looked to try to wriggle out of the tackle and just about held from Connor Phillips. And Jack Lyons looks to toe and go. Not 10. Campbell Classen lucky to get away with that one, I think.
Yeah, there didn't look to be much of an attempt to get back from Campbell there, and I think maybe Johnny Erskine might be having a word here as we see the quick tap penalty, and straight away Campbell just wraps his arms around Jack Lyons, and Harrison Brewer being called over.
As Johnny Erskine is going to explain the
he
decision-making.
hasn't got away with it.
And he has not got away with it. Campbell Classen looked for a second as though he thought it was going to go his way, but the referee says no effort to get back, and he's tackled Jack Lyons to the ground. Young Munsters will play the next 10 minutes with a man advantage and a penalty opportunity to get them into a serious attacking position.
Yeah, that'll be really, really frustrating for Terenure because they defended that passage of play excellently. As you'd pointed out, the young Munsters were going through a lot of phases and it ended up going backwards about 10 metres or so. Jordan Coughlin, Harrison Brewer and Adam Chute all put in some really, really good tackles, meeting the young Munsters players behind the gain line. And then it was just, you said as well, they just ultimately young Munsters decided they didn't want to keep playing rugby where they were, put the kick back, Terenure send it back the other way, and that leads to the penalty and an opportunity now for young Munsters to get this maul going again.
Stephen McLaughlin will throw in for young Munsters, taken well off the top.
Great
Tom
throw.
Goggin again, and the maul does start to roll, and it looks like there's going to be a penalty. Yes, there is. Well, you couldn't fault Levi Vaughan there. He absolutely had to collapse that one. It was gaining momentum and moving forward, and Levi Vaughan is underneath at the bottom of it and brings it down. And this is the pressure young Munsters want to put on the home side. Shane O'Leary says, I'm going to go back into that corner. Harrison Brewer down and looks as though he's hurt. Johnny Erskine says time off, put the ball on the ground. And you hope that the Terenure captain isn't in any major discomfort.
Well, I think he had a handful of players land in on top of him there when I think there was a couple of Terenure players in the end brought that maul down, and a lot of bodies came in on top. Just to go back on that maul as well, because that's now the third really, really impressive young Munsters maul we've seen so far. Terenure will have known all week that this is the kind of game young Munsters will want to play, to win the penalties, get down into the corners and start getting that maul to work. But knowing what a team is going to do is only a small little part of the battle, Dan, because it's a hell of a lot different when you actually need to try stop that maul. And mauls, as we know, a good one. Clontarf have also got an unbelievable one. It's a very, very difficult thing to do, even if you know it's going to be coming.
Shane O'Leary is going to put young Munsters 5 metres out from the Terenure line.
Hopefully they have another ball. That one's in a back garden in Greenley Road. I wonder what young Munsters will do here, Dan.
I think there may be a maul coming. The question then is whether or not Terenure put jumpers up to try and interfere.
Well, they're down a forward as well, obviously, with Campbell Classen in the bin.
And it looks as though that is going to be remedied.
Conan O'Donnell coming
Conan
on.
O'Donnell coming in.
Former Connacht's man and a former Toronto teammate of Shane O'Leary.
And it's decided that Alan Benny, the scrum half... Oh, I thought it was Alan Benny coming out. It's actually Aaron Egan. It's taken off the top, this time from Rigney. And young Munster's maul starts to move. This time the maul defence from Terenure is good. But young Munsters get it on second shove and heading towards the line. And eventually young Munsters get it on the ground. And the try is awarded. It's Rigney this time round. The man who took it off the top and got it on his hands on it on the second shove. And young Munsters get their first try of the game to take them back to within 2 points and a chance to level this match. Now we've got a game on.
We certainly do, and that's been coming for a few minutes now. We've mentioned the maul 3 or 4 times at this stage. Just broke down ever slightly towards the blind side. It looked initially like Terenure had done a good job on it, but credit to young Munsters. They knew what they were doing. They knew that they just broke off into their a little pot of 3 or 4 down into the blind side, isolate the Terenure defence. And as you mentioned, it was Sean Rigney who got the final touchdown. Deserved try, and if Shane O'Leary can add the extras, we're going to have a level ball game.
By no means an easy kick, this one. To the right-hand side.
I have to say, as we hit 30 minutes on the clock, Dan, this first half has absolutely flown by. It's been really, really enjoyable stuff.
Highly entertaining game of rugby, and the only show in town today, if you're interested in getting your rugby fix. O'Leary to try to level this Bateman Cup final just over the half-hour mark. Still about 6 minutes or so on the sin bin clock. O'Leary's strike is not a good one. And the referees leave the touch judges leave the flags down. And so the score remains Terenure 10, Young Munster 8.
Well, we've enough of a sample size now in this game, Dan, that I think Terenure at this stage, they know what they need to do, and that is if you want to stop that maul, ultimately it's stopping it at source, and that means stop giving away the penalties in midfield that give the opportunity to get down towards the 22 and set that up. They've given away a couple of penalties, a couple of them cheap, like even if we're talking about Campbell Classen's sin binning where it's an extra 10 metres. I know ultimately Jack Lyons might have been breaking through for something a little bit more dangerous, but if they can just get their way towards half-time, regroup and slow down on conceding some of those penalties, they'll be in a much better place.
Another dangerous kickoff from Callum Smith, high and hanging, and gives Terenure an opportunity to get up, but Sean Rigney takes for young Munsters and they return possession. The kick into the hands of Alan Benny. Alan Benny looking to see is there some space to go down, and there is. His little dink over the top is bouncing awkwardly for O'Leary again, and O'Leary decides it's into the backfield, and young Munsters think that there might be an opportunity here to attack through that. All the way up into contact is Shortall, and young Munsters get the penalty. A high tackle on Aidan Shortall from captain Harrison Brewer, and Harrison Brewer not one bit happy about that decision as Shortall was hit just above the sternum. Referee Johnny Erskine has been keen on it. He's penalised both sides now for that high hit just above sternum height. As Neil Tracy was saying, Terenure need to cut out the penalties. It's the first thing that happens, and young Munsters are into the Terenure half yet again.
Yeah, Harrison Brewer was frustrated with that one, and I can see where the frustration's coming from with the replay there. It did look to be a little bit closer to being on the margin than the earlier one we had in the game. But as we said, it's these penalties that are giving young Munsters the opportunity to attack, and they're so ruthless when they do have that opportunity. Not this time, though. Talk about a commentator's curse.
Well, that one crooked, and an option for Terenure is line out or scrum, and it looks as though they will take the scrum.
They'll just want to slow this down as well and wear off those last few minutes on the sin bin. We're down into 3.5 minutes to go on Campbell Classen's yellow card. As they off the scrum, Adam, who's there, that's Matt Caffrey picking off every last little bit of mud on that boot to wear down a few seconds, like any good experienced forward will. Scrums have been good so far on both sides. I know young Munsters were on top in one of those earlier ones, but it was a nice little steady shove just a few minutes later as well. But Terenure obviously having to have a little bit of a reshuffle, and we're getting up again.
Adam Chute looks keen to get going. Referee is talking to the replacement, Conan O'Donnell, about his positioning. O'Donnell, how much of an impact does that have on a scrum, on the game, or a scrum by scrum basis, really, seeing a replacement come in early?
Sometimes it can just throw some things a little bit off balance. We probably haven't had enough scrums so far in this game for it to make a huge impact. I can only remember 2, maybe 3 off the top of my head so far. That's a nice little steady shove and an opportunity to play ball off this one.
Alan Benny into midfield, and Peter Sylvester is tackled into the ground. He goes. Caffrey offering himself and runs heavy into Shane O'Leary. Stopped through the hands. Callum Smith, massive hit from Harry Fleming. And Terenure going backwards a little bit. Coughlin tries to carry out. Alan Benny to the hands. Young Munsters putting in the hits. And it's Harrison Brewer not one bit happy about a hit.
This game in the last few minutes, Dan, it's always kicked off a little bit here or there when these sides have played each other over the last few years, and I think we had the high tackle against Harrison Brewer there, and I think that's probably why he was so animated that time around. That one certainly was high. He certainly did come up over the sternum, and about 30 seconds earlier, I know the crowd around us here at Lakelands, they weren't happy about another tackle they thought was high as well. So I think that's just, it's all gone into the same pot, and it's given us a pretty boiling bowl of stew.
Referee in discussion. The assistants today are Keane Davison and Chris Locke. A bit of a chat being had, and referee goes into his pocket.
There's going to be a card coming here, I think.
There is going to be a card. Discussion with Captain Alan Kennedy. What they colour of the card remains to be seen,
Oh,
and
no.
it is a red card. Young Munsters have Fintan Coleman sent off, a red card, and will play the rest of this game with 14 players.
Look, obviously, Dan, we don't want to see red cards in cup finals. Having seen the replay, it certainly was higher than the other penalties we've seen so far. So, look, in fairness to the officials, they're trying to balance these things out, and it was, as we say, it probably was above the threshold of what those other two were. The problem is at this level, when you don't have TMOs and you're trying to distinguish between what's going to be a yellow and what's going to be a red, that's where you get into the territory where the calls are so hard and they're so split second to make. When the referees out there, they don't even have the benefit of the replays that we have here in front of us. And hopefully it doesn't have a major impact on the game.
Both sides currently with 14 players, but just a minute left for Terenure before they're back to full complement. Young Munsters will finish out this game a man down. Terenure Maul has Alan Benny at the back. The ball still moving forward. Terenure still have, but it looks as though Sean Rigney has managed to get his arms around that.
Yeah.
And Young Munsters will have to put in, as Rigney manages to put himself in a position to stop that ball coming back. Young Munsters will have to put into the scrum. Excellent work at the defensive maul from Young Munster's second row.
That was super work by Sean Rigney, just to wriggle his way in there. And you see, he just managed to get his hands in. It was scrapping for it with Jim White, number 7 for Terenure, and he was just gripping and grabbing and eventually worms his way in. And another little bit of trouble here. Jordan Coughlin is down getting a bit of treatment on what looks to be a foot or an ankle issue. They're desperately going to want to keep him on the pitch. Been one of the best players in the league over the last couple of seasons.
An outstanding part.
He's up and he's
contributor.
certainly going to give this a go till half time anyway, it looks like. But we spoke about Young Munster's maul attack. It looks like they can defend them all as well, Dan.
Certainly up for the challenge, and it is indeed now a massive challenge for the visiting team. They will play a full half of rugby with 14 players, and there's still a few minutes left to go in this half, and they're chasing a game. 10 points to 8 as Jordan Coughlin receives treatment. A huge part of Terenure's title winning run last season, and a talismanic player for the Dublin outfit. They will not be keen to see him leave the pitch at any point. That does seem to be an ankle injury. It's going to be strapped heavily, and see can they get him as far as half time, presumably.
Certainly does look like that way, and as you mentioned, he's been excellent so far this season as well. A couple of tries. Terenure do seem to have made a change again as well. Another one in the front row. Campbell Claassen has obviously come back on after his yellow card has elapsed, but Conan O'Donnell has stayed on the pitch, and it looks like Adam Chute has gone off as a replacement. Now I'm not sure, is it injury related or is it just a tactical switch? But Conan O'Donnell is going to be staying on this pitch, and I think he's going to be switching across to tight head from what we can see on with the way the players are lined up there in front of us.
Switching from loose head to tight head. Jordan Coughlin is back on his feet, and we will restart with the scrum. About 3 minutes left in this half. Jack Lyons will have the feed into the scrum for Young Munster. Referee Johnny Erskine wants it done his way, and will have it done his way. Lyons with the feed. Young Munster's scrum is still solid and moving forward a little bit, but
just getting a little nudge.
Into midfield they go. Christian Keegan Goss on the carry. Up past the gain line. Popped up for Tom Goggin. Goggin tackled well by Alan Penny. Alan Kennedy picks and goes from the edge and does well. Young Munsters look to be in a spot of trouble.
It's great work by Matthew Caffrey. Just slowing Young Munsters up.
To hands. Young Munster still carrying, moving it through. onto the ground. Jack Lyons marshalling the troops. And he's going to put his boot on this one. No, he doesn't. Back to O'Leary, and O'Leary heads out the back. Fleming. Shane O'Leary acting on the little pop-up pass into the hands of Shane McCarthy. The referee says that one's forward.
Nice idea. And there we are, half-time.
And that is the last action of the half. Callum Smith is on the deck for Terenure. We hope he'll make his way back to his feet. But both teams have given it all over 40 minutes. It's been a very entertaining 40 minutes with plenty to talk about. We're going to take a very short break. We'll bring you some highlights of the opening half, which has had 2 tries and 2 penalties, 1 conversion, and it's that kicked conversion that separates the side. We'll be back after a very short break. Do rejoin us for the second half. The current score, Terenure 10, Young Munsters 8. For this coverage, the Energia AIL Bateman Cup final, association with the Club Scene podcast and Irish Rugby TV. Young Munsters and Terenure, 10 points to 8. It's been, well, we knew it was going to be close. It's been close. It's been tetchy, been a bit hot sometimes. Good game.
It has, and like Terenure started brilliantly, getting that try inside the first 5 minutes from Connor Phillips, and had a couple of half chances then as well. But in fairness to Young Munsters, Terenure have hardly had a sniff in the last 20 minutes of that first half. They've barely got past the Young Munsters 10-metre line. Now, maybe the extra man with that red card is going to have more of a say as the half goes on. And in fairness, Terenure were down to 14 players as well. But what they desperately need to do is start cutting out those penalties, which is giving Young Munsters a massive opportunity to get in 30-40 metres from the line, start forcing a mull, start forcing more penalties off the back of that, and getting the territory. We've seen Young Munsters countless times over the last year or two pulling off big second halves. Go back to the Bateman Cup semi-final up in Ballynahinch when they pulled that one out away from home in Ballynahinch as well, and only just before Christmas against Cork as well. So a big 40 minutes to go to see where this trophy is going to be.
Callum Smith returns the kick-off into the waiting arms, and a lovely little dink over the top. Is the ball going to bounce?
That
It
was a lovely
bounces.
kick.
Unfortunately for Young Munsters, bounces happily for Terenure College. And into midfield they go, and Callum Smith through the hands. And the little grubber kick is going to bounce up for Shane
Space
O'Leary.
behind.
And O'Leary returns the kick with some interest. It's going to bounce over the dead ball line. Is it going to bounce dead? Nope. It's going to sit in the in-goal area. And eventually it is touched down by Aaron Egan.
That's a January pitch for you, Dan. I told you before this game, beside the lake, this is generally a fairly soft pitch, and when that ball took a first hop as it hit the ground off Shane O'Leary's kick, it looked like it was going to trickle the whole way down towards the clubhouse, but the ground did its work for him. We'll give him the credit. He knew what way the bounce was going to be. He's an experienced kicker.
And so Callum Smith will restart from the Terenure goal line. Huge kick from O'Leary, putting Terenure back into their 22 where they don't want to be. The drop kick into the arms of O'Leary, and O'Leary is going to try the drop goal, and he slices that one, and wide it goes. Could see what he was intending to do and what he wanted out of that one, but it instead will be a 22 dropout. It's a good idea. The execution let him down.
It certainly was worth a go. I mean, at this stage of the game, if you can nudge yourself up into a 1-point lead with a shot like that, he knows what he's doing. Worst case scenario, as we say, you're handing Terenure a 22 dropout and basically getting possession back.
Collected well. Keegan Christian Goss, and to Alan Kennedy, and Kennedy on the carry, and that's a big one from the Young Munster captain. Jack Lyons to Begley.
You can see the concentrated effort of so many players there to get low. That tackle by Jordan Coughlin, he was pretty much down on one knee.
And the kick over the top was a good one, a threatening one, and Callum Smith took his eyes off it for just 1 second, and in taking his eyes off it, spills the ball into touch, and it will be a Young Munsters put into the line out.
I think you can file that one from Jack Lyons into the trying to buy one category against a former teammate, Connor Phillips. Johnny Erskine wasn't buying it though. But what an opportunity this is for Young Munsters. It looked like a bit of a nothing kick down into that territory, and Callum Smith just bobbled it, goes out into touch. And we've seen how dangerous the cookies can be from this kind of a situation in the first half.
McLaughlin's throw is to Rigney, who takes it off the top and looks to get the Young Munsters maul moving again. It's a little bit less organised than previous mauls had been, and it looks as though Young Munsters will have a penalty advantage, and so it's a free play as they rumble towards the line. Alan Kennedy has to act as scrum half, picking and driving and heading towards the post. Still penalty advantage to the visiting team in front of the posts, metres short as Tom Goggin carries. Lyons for Begley, 2 defenders waiting. That's good defensive effort from Levi Vaughan.
Still penalty advantage.
As Kennedy carries and heads towards the line. Still short. Young Munster's probing. Looking to get over the line. Just shy. Terenure's defensive effort now needs to be huge and their discipline needs to be good. McLaughlin steps this way and that and gets it down surely. No. Still short. Just about. Kennedy at the back. Young Munsters know their job from here. They don't want to get held up over the line. Little pick and go, and the try is scored. Young Munsters getting over and getting it on the ground. It's a huge effort, and Young Munsters have the score down the blind side. Pick and go, and the pure power to get it over the line and touch that one down from Rowan Quinn. And Young Munsters have first blood early in the second half. A massive score for the visiting side. Down a player, 14-man Young Munsters take the lead in this game. Terenure 10, Young Munsters 13, with a conversion to come. And you could sense that they knew what their job was, got about the work, and got the result.
100%, Dan. An excellently worked try, and from a worrying point of view for Terenure, it felt ominous as soon as Young Munsters got that maul working through the 22. Penalty advantage came, and from there Young Munsters knew all they had to do was work through their phases, stay sharp, stay connected, stay focused, and eventually just inch by inch, yard by yard, forced their way over. And it was a lovely little kind of coming back against the grain from Rowan Quinn, back in under those posts again. Easy conversion for Shane O'Leary. I'm pretty sure he has tagged it over. He has. It's now 15 points to 10, and an ideal start to the second half for the Cookies.
Just 5 minutes into this second half. And that's the start Young Munster would have wanted. They lead for the first time in this game. And Callum Smith will kick off the home side. The visiting crowd, the volume starts to go up as they urge their team on.
A delay there. Jordan Coughlin is just getting an extra bit of strapping onto that right foot.
There's a heavily strapped ankle now. Callum Smith's kick off again, outstanding, and collected really well from Aidan Shortall, and Shortall tries to dink over the top, splitting the two defenders, and it's bounced awkwardly, and Aidan Shortall just knocking it forward. Very unfortunately, the kick was outstanding, but it bobbled awkwardly in front of him, split the two defenders. And listen to the crowd getting excited for both sides now. The knock on, once again the game being played where Terenure don't want it to be played.
Yeah, I think if Young Munsters were to get another try, our commentary hut might be knocked down. There's banging coming in from all the Cookie supporters around us. That was brilliant though from Aidan Shortall. He just judged the timing of that kick. It was actually a very well, it was a well placed kick and a well executed kick from Callum Smith, landing pretty much just outside the 10 metre line, but Terenure just didn't get the bodies into the positions they wanted to be, and when Aidan Shortall came down onto the ground, the sea just parted for him and he came straight through. It was a nice little judged chip over the top from him as well, but it was just that bobble of a ball. Caught him at the last second, and Terenure got out of jail on that one, I think.
Scrum goes down. Referee says we'll go again.
The red card has not had a big impact on Young Munsters. I think it's fair to say they've been the better team since the card was dished out. And they're into a deserving lead, and Terenure have got themselves sucked into a forward battle they don't really want to be in at the moment.
That's heavy pitch, as pointed out by Neil Tracy before the game started. Heavy pitch is going to suit forward play a little bit better. The pitch getting caught up somewhat. It's soft after extended rain over the last couple of weeks. Alan Benny will feed for the Terenure scrum. In front of their own sticks, Young Munster's shove is big, but Terenure have their own possession and looking to run it out and take advantage of the man, extra man, and suddenly the break is on, and it's a huge break from Peter Sylvester, popping it back
Great
up
hands.
inside Alan Benny. Benny flinging it all the way out wide, but de Butler on for LeGroux carrying. Huge play from Terenure. Benny back into Peter Sylvester. He's brought to ground at the edge of the Young Munster 22, and a penalty advantage. Young Munster not rolling away, and Terenure so dangerous on that break. Have made 80 metres almost to put Young Munster back under pressure, and concede the penalty.
They can do that. They have been doing that for 2 years. They can just make something happen out of nothing. And Peter Sylvester, probably been their best player so far this season, just got the gap, came back into midfield, offloaded brilliantly on the ground as well, which was the big part of that job. Got it up into Alan Benny's hands, quick as a flash, moved it out onto the right wing, and they get down there. Young Munsters, in fairness, they got back, made the tackle, but scrambling around, probably got a little bit desperate, gave away the penalty. And having looked a little bit discombobulated just 60 seconds ago under their own post, Terenure now have a big opportunity, the best opportunity they've had since probably the 10-15 minute of this game.
Throw to the tail is taken really well, and Terenure look to set up their own maul. Munster's defensive maul trying to organise.
Oh, that's impressive
Sending
defence.
Terenure backwards, and Alan Benny is going to have to use this. Well, there's a penalty advantage coming yet again. Begley looked, or Keenan Knox, looking to make a nuisance of himself. Benny snipes this way and that. Still penalty advantage, you would think, as Caffrey carries. Slower ball from Terenure, but they have the territory they want. In a dangerous position. Trying for the edge. Slow for the home side. The carry to ground. Young Munsters turn it over on the deck. And the penalty, no advantage, and back we come for the Terenure penalty. The side entry at the maul.
I know they ultimately gave away a penalty, but that was shaping up to be an impressive maul defensive set from Young Munsters. Probably just got a little bit greedy in the end there and tried to reach an arm around over the top and haul someone in, but we're going to have a stoppage here. Alan Kennedy just getting a little bit of treatment, but
it's been attritional. Both sides really going for it in this game. We've still got a half an hour's worth of rugby to play. No doubt both sides are going to empty the tank in the next 30 minutes or so.
Just trying to see a few Terenure players warming up, starting to rub the shoulders. Won't be long until we see a few more changes. We've had a couple so far in the game, one on each side.
As benches are likely to be important, Neil, as we go. The Terenure bench, we've already seen the introduction of Conan O'Donnell. Likely to see Tom Stewart, Conor McCormack, Mike Murphy, Tom Coughlin, Stephen O'Neill, Craig Adams, and of course Caelan Dooley, presumably at some point in this game for the home side. The 5 metre line out then. Levi Vaughan to the front. Caffrey and back into Vaughan and into the hands of Harrison Brewer. Brewer heading towards the line. Alan Benny has it at the base. It's forward play now and staying tight. They have the man advantage. Caffrey on the carry. No gain there. Jordan Coughlin this time losing a yard or so. Good defence from the visiting team. Levi Vaughan stood up by Keegan Christian Goss, but it's surely there. A big tackle. Terenure have numbers, and through the hands it goes. Jordan Coughlin gets his hands on it, and Terenure get the try. The numbers counting as Terenure narrow the Young Munster defence, and Jordan Coughlin with the heavy strapping on that right foot gets all the way over for the Terenure score.
Now we've got a great game in our hands, Dan, and that was excellently worked, in fairness. It looked like Young Munsters had kind of got the edge of them, drove them back half a couple of yards, and Colm de Butler was hit with a massive tackle, did so well to just get the ball back into the hands of Adam Melia. He flicked it out to, I think it might have been Harrison Brewer. He gave it out to Jordan Coughlin, and Jordan Coughlin's a hard man to stop from that range. Levels this up and gives Callum Smith the opportunity to put Terenure back into the lead. We mentioned Young Munster's been on top for probably the middle third of this game so far, but it might be a little bit of a worry that this is pretty much the second, maybe third decent Terenure attack, and they've got over for a try on 2 occasions.
Callum
it's going to stay a level game.
Conversion is hooked unexpectedly somewhat, considering his ability off the tee, and so we stay level at 15 points apiece. This game is shaping up to be nervy and more than a little bit exciting.
We've got a big 28 minutes ahead of us here, Dan.
Donnacha O'Callaghan is in for Young Munster, the replacement scrum half. In for Jack Lyons. Shane O'Leary will restart for Young Munster. Level now, 15 points apiece. Still about a half an hour to go in this game. O'Leary's kick-off. Drops.
Knock on.
And looks to have been knocked on, and Young Munster have their hands on this ball, and suddenly they're attacking. O'Callaghan's first action of the game. Lovely little tip on from Keenan Knox to Alan Kennedy. Through the hands, Tom Goggins stepping this way and that. O'Leary tries the little dink. Is there anyone in the backfield? McCarthy looks to get his hands on it and can't. And Connor Phillips hooks it and kicks it into touch, but there was a knock on from Shea McCarthy as he competed for that ball. McCarthy disagrees, but the touch judge has advised the referee.
I was just about to say Young Munster's got a great second prize there if that clearance from Connor Phillips was going to result in the line out. Terenure will be very, very relieved to get the ball back on their side. Shea McCarthy's a big, tall man, and there's worse things you can do than dropping a kick down into his corner.
He didn't seem to agree with the referee's decision. Wouldn't be the first rugby player in the world to disagree with the referee's decision. And so the scrum will be Terenure's, 5 metres out.
I know they got a great try off a little bit of pressure there a few minutes ago, but Terenure they do need to just start getting some phases together. The try probably came out of nothing a little bit, because if you remember, they were back under their own post like they are now.
Young Munster's scrum is big and the effort is huge, but Terenure suddenly have another break on, and Connor Phillips looks to side through the defence. Connor Phillips all the way to the corner. He's bursting all the way. Is Shortall going to make it?
Oh, what a tackle.
A huge covering tackle from Aidan Shortall all the way into the backfield. The try line was begging for Connor Phillips. Huge tackle from the Young Munster's fullback, but what a huge run from Connor Phillips. Terenure so dangerous, even from their own line.
For a moment it looked like he was going to go the whole way there, Dan. Just stepped inside one of the Young Munster's players, lost his footing ever so slightly, pinned the ears back. It looked like he was going to get around and down into the corner, but Aidan Shortall, if Young Munsters are to go on and win this game, someone needs to buy Aidan Shortall quite a few points after that covering tackle to knock Connor Phillips out of play. Really, really interesting stuff, though. As I was kind of mentioning when Terenure were down under their posts, they need to get some phases together. Maybe not. Maybe they just need to get the ball into the hands of Connor Phillips or Peter Sylvester and run it out from their own 22. Styles make fights, Dan. Everyone says it. And I think what we're seeing at the moment is two very, very contrasting styles making for a cracking fight.
First phase rugby from Terenure on 2 occasions. One resulting in a try. That one very, very nearly the same, save for a heroic defensive effort from the Young Munster fullback Aidan Shortall. As Keenan Knox receives some treatment, gets back to his feet to walk it off the Young Munster tight head. And it will be a Young Munster line out in their own 22. Interfered with, but Young Munster get the ball back, and Donald O'Callaghan looks to go sniping and make some yards. He's brought to ground. Keenan Knox at the back of the ruck. He's going to act as scrum half. Instead of popping it back to O'Leary, he picks and goes for a yard or two. Donald O'Callaghan this time will surely go to the hands of his out half, and does. And O'Leary's clearing kick is a big one. It's going to drop for Connor Phillips. Phillips takes it well and back into the hands of Egan. Egan into midfield and little show and go. Terenure still have Alan Benny sniping and looking to go through the pillar, brought to ground. Coughlin has his hands on it. He's hard to stop. To the 22. Alan Benny to Callum Smith. Smith overthrowing Phillips, and it's spilled backwards by Harrison Brewer. And Terenure have lost some yards and some momentum. Ball squirting out the back. Referee says that it was played hands on the deck, a penalty to Terenure. The Young Munster fans don't like it.
It's funny, the ebb and flow down at these games 5-6 minutes ago, it probably looked like Young Munsters were were well on top and starting to cause Terenure real trouble. But that try out of nowhere from Jordan Coughlin has just given Terenure a new lease of life. We'll probably have a little bit of a delay here. A couple of players down, just catching a breather and getting a little bit of treatment.
It has been end to end in this game since the second half started. Seen young Munster score a try, nearly score another one with a lovely dink over the top from Aidan Shortall, who then has to come back and make a covering tackle following a Terenure try. It's just been pulsating stuff in the 20 minutes, or just shy of 20 minutes, that we've played in the second half.
There has been another change on the Terenure side. There's a very clean jersey of Tom Coughlin out there, number 20, standing at the just off the line. He's come on in the back row, I think, in place of Jim White. He's put in 57 minutes on a debut. Tom is a cousin of Jordan, also in the Terenure back row.
We have seen a replacement for young Munsters as well.
There's a Terenure player down, just getting a bit of treatment right in front of us as well, Dan. I can't actually make out who it is because there's the medic treating him as just blocking our view. I think it might be Matt Caffrey, actually. It is, yeah.
So, Matt Caffrey. Again, we've mentioned it's an attritional game. Both teams have
no,
been
it's Peter
everything.
Sylvester, sorry. It's Peter Sylvester.
Peter Sylvester gets to his feet. God bless your eyesight.
I was trying to judge it off his fringe.
Levi Vaughan will have to put in to the Terenure line out at the edge of the young Munster 22. 15 all the score. To the tail. Well taken off the top, and Alan Benny throws it into midfield, and Sylvester, back on his feet, is brought to ground. Alan Benny to Jordan Coughlin. Coughlin popping it up into the hands of Aaron Egan, and Aaron Egan will score for Terenure under the posts. The gaps are there for Terenure to exploit, and they know how to do it. And the pop-up pass from Coughlin to Egan was outstanding, and Aaron Egan runs in Terenure's score, which will surely have extras added, and a 7-point lead for the home team. Just out of nothing, what they are capable of when they move that ball, Neil Tracy.
They are. When they get into their phase play and they start working around the pitch, they're so difficult to stop, because the skill player skill level right around from numbers 1 through to number 23 are so good that it doesn't matter who's out there, they can keep moving the ball around. And in the end, it was just Aaron Egan hit the line hard, came through the gap and sprinted right up through the guts of the pitch, or the guts of the 22, to give Callum Smith a simple tap over. And Terenure now moving into a 7-point lead with 22 minutes to go.
Was a deep,
as we see,
supporting run.
As we see a blood issue there. Wow, there's a lot of blood.
Seeing the replacement.
But this has been a really impressive last 10-15 minutes or so from Terenure, having started the game slowly. Peter Sylvester it is that's going off, number 12.
Peter Sylvester looks as though
he put in a really strong carry off the first phase of that.
Surely his game is done. He's been coming out probably for a blood substitution, maybe done for the day.
And it's Caelan Dooley who's come on in his place.
O'Leary's kick off into the waiting hands of Callum Smith, and Smith returns a kick to the 10-metre line. Terenure with a 7-point lead now, and you sense the momentum has shifted in their favour in this game.
Yeah, just in the last few minutes, Dan, and maybe that's the red card catching up. Young Munsters, they started the second half as well as you could possibly do, and in fairness to them as well, two of those big opportunities that Terenure got themselves into are off the back of young Munsters having them pinned back with a scrum inside their own 5-10 metre line. And in fairness, they've broken their way out, they've run out of trouble, and they've got themselves into a position. And from having not had too many chances and too many opportunities to score tries, they have 3.
Shane O'Leary with the kick. Shane McCarthy is going to try to put some pressure on here. Collected well in the backfield from Adam LeGroux.
He's done well there, Adam LeGroux, because that ball was hanging right up into the sky, and you had 4 or 5 black and amber jerseys charging down at him. It's not an easy catch when you have that pressure and that long to think about it.
Kicked to touch. It will be young Munsters put in to this line out.
Yeah, and the net result is the line out in a promising position for the Cookies as well.
The replacement hooker, Chris Moore, will have to put in. He's told what's what by Harrison Allen, the replacement front row. It's a full front row replacement for Young Munsters now. And a ball overthrown, and Levi Vaughan has his hands on it, and it's knocked forward, and the ball bounces and skitters in front of our commentary position before the knock-on is called.
I thought I was going to be called into action to catch that ricochet there, and it just bounced right in front of us here.
Ball bouncing awkwardly.
I don't envy the officials having to judge what way that went, because it hit about 4 different players before going out.
Thought for just a moment it might be hitting one of us on the having gone out.
I was ready. I
was not.
Your hands are in your pockets. You're too cold.
I'm glad one of us is. It will be Young Munsters put into the scrum. Alan Benny arguing that he had kicked that one before he knocked it on, or as it was knocked on. And Donnacha Callahan.
And this is right in front of us as well. I'm looking forward to seeing that, getting a nice up-close view of this scrum. Campbell Classen and I think is this Campbell Classen and Conor Bartley right in front of our eyes.
Johnny Erskine having a chat with the number 9s who the guest at the scrum halves would be mouthing.
Always are.
It wouldn't be like them. This front row battle has been intriguing all game long and looks shaping to continue. The shove from Young Munsters is big, and Young Munsters get the penalty. That front row battle, it's the replacements. Conor Bartley doing so well.
You can see that pitch in front of us as well, getting caught up in every break and play. You've forwards bending down to pick bits of mud out of their boots. It's playing heavy, and Young Munsters not quite getting down to really, really close to the line, but you're talking edge of the 22. It's, if there's a team out there that can get themselves close from here, it's them.
22-15 and 14-man Young Munsters have a 7-point deficit to cut. Chris Moore, second time out. It's a good line out. Really well taken from John Foley as Kennedy goes on a rampage. And to deck he goes. Donnacha Callahan to Bartley. Through the hands again, and Keegan Christian Goss making yards in the tackle. He's done really well there. A huge carry from the centre. O'Leary to Shea McCarthy. Foley again on the carry. Massive from John Foley. And Kennedy, always looking for work, the Young Munster captain. Harrison Allen. Ball is on the deck. No, it's not. The competition was good. And Campbell Classen is pleased with his effort. And Alan Benny picking it up with the quick one. And he's going to kick that one towards touch. It's not going to make it. Shea McCarthy collects it on the deck. He's going to try and run it back. Sits his opposite number down before going to deck himself. A little dink over the top. Ball bouncing awkwardly. Callum Smith has it in front of him. Collects it well. Flings it towards the backfield. And Phillips is setting off. And Phillips breaks through one tackle and then a second. He goes to ground and pops it up for Harrison Brewer.
I tell you, Harrison Brewer is popping up everywhere, Dan.
Jordan Coughlin picks, looks for the narrow angle, and another tackle from Harry Fleming. Good effort from the centre. Slow ball, Alan Penny. Huge hit, you could hear that one on the ambient mic. Donnacha Callahan doing well versus Harrison Brewer. Big carry from Conan O'Donnell. Slower ball now for Terenure, but they have the lead. They have the possession. This is where they want it. Benny at the back. Flings it back for Callum Smith, and Smith puts a high hanging one for Connor Phillips to contest. And Connor Phillips collects really well. Good hands for him. Back to Conan O'Donnell. Work rate from James White. Through the hands. Terenure so dangerous from here and into the hands of Aaron Egan, and Egan brought down by Tom Goggin. Levi Vaughan on the carry now, always willing, getting through some work. The hooker. O'Leary thought he had hands on it, referee says no. Coughlin, Benny with a little dink, nobody home, eventually collected by Aidan Shortall. Shortall decides he's going to go this way and that, tries to run out, throws an awkward one, and it's scrappy, and it's a knock on and a turnover. The ball knocked forward, Aidan Shortall under pressure, and Terenure will have to put into the line out.
Missed opportunity there. I think it was just the wrong option taken in the end. There had space outside him. Terenure were scrambling numbers to get back, and they didn't get much of a chase up to put them on to put Young Munsters under pressure. As we see the replay of it there, yeah, there was space to attack if they could have just released that ball a little bit quicker. I want to go back though to about 60 seconds earlier, because there was a brilliant passage of play for about 2 minutes right in front of us here. And if anybody watching and listening at home wants to have an idea about how physical it is, just rewind your stream and listen into a few of those collisions, because the noise coming off those players was absolutely phenomenal. The pressure and the physicality and the commitment has just been absolutely incredible from both teams so far today, and our mics were able to pick it up right there when possession was in front of us. On the game itself though, I think Terenure will be really, really pleased with how they've managed to settle things down over the last few minutes. They got themselves under a good bit of pressure down in under the post. Harrison Brewer came up with a massive turnover, and Alan Benny, in fairness to him, he's been around a long time. He knows when the opportunity is there to take a quick tap, and he did so, and he managed to bring them back up the pitch here to the area of the pitch where they want to be playing out these last 10-15 minutes, well 13 minutes now in. Only one score in it, and we know as well Young Munsters only need to get one opportunity to get back down there. In fairness to them as well, when they did get down, got into that corner, Terenure managed to sack that maul, stopped it forming before it got going at all. But we saw with Young Munsters, their pick and go game and their one-out runners are so good that they managed to work their way up close to the line. They're not a team that's just relying on them all, Dan.
No, indeed, as it's picked from the back, and Terenure looking to go through the hands. Big long one out to look. Well, that's
Stevie O'Neill.
It was O'Neill, and well collected in the backfield from Shortall. It's Shortall. Christian Keegan Goss bundled into touch. And Terenure, well, there was a momentum shift some time ago. It's been all their ball, all of their pressure, and they're playing the game now as we come into the final 10 minutes or so, exactly where they want to be playing it.
That was a lovely little kick down the touchline, and really, really good pressure from Stevie O'Neill and Craig Adams to just bundle them out into touch. And if Terenure can get a score here and just put a little bit of daylight between the teams.
Maul defence from Young Munsters is good, but Terenure are getting forward.
Harrison Allen has his hands in there, slowing it up really well. Big
Alan
tackle.
Penny into the hands of Colm de Butler. Shane O'Leary thought he had it, and Shane O'Leary did have it. He got hands on it, and Young Munsters get the penalty, and that's good reward and good work from the out half. You thought Colm de Butler's run was strong. O'Leary getting good body position, and his penalty kick takes Young Munsters out of danger and up to the 10.
That was so well defended. I mean, Colm de Butler met that ball right at the gain line, and as soon as it was in his hands, he was met with a double tackle, couldn't go anywhere, and Shane O'Leary getting his hands in, holding on to it for just about long enough. The clear out did come in the end, but it was just enough time to earn that penalty and a reprieve for Young Munsters. But they do need to just start getting back down into the right areas of the pitch. The penalty count has has levelled out a little bit. They're not getting as much joy in the middle chunk of the pitch. Nice little clever little line out there though. Moves it out quick.
O'Leary's high hanging one is going to drop. And it's caught and fielded really well. Terenure have managed to get hands on it under serious pressure for Young Munsters. Benny to Jordan Coughlin. Coughlin careening out of one tackle. Young Munsters thought they had hands on it again. And in to O'Neill, and O'Neill looking to step this way and that and try to get around some tackles. Young Munsters close the door. No black and amber hands on that one. Popped up. As Terenure have, trying at the fringe. Good defensive effort. Huge, high, hanging, clearing kick. O'Leary collects it in the backfield and does really well. Shea McCarthy has to get into ruck. Donnacha O'Callaghan for Alan Kennedy. Taking Young Munster up to the halfway line. Big carry from the captain. O'Leary to the hands of Shea McCarthy. Once again, the sound of these collisions. It's big. Ball is available. O'Callaghan to Harrison Allen. Connor Bartley collects, knocking it backwards. Not on. Well. Donnacha O'Callaghan into the hands of Alan Kennedy yet again. Kennedy stopped over the halfway line, and that's going to be a penalty to Young Munsters. Alan Kennedy showing all of his tactical news, just maybe keeping Caffrey in there in a way that he didn't want to be. And Young Munsters get the penalty.
Certainly, you could tell it was what they were playing for, just trying to put Terenure under pressure in midfield, as we see it here in the replay. Alan Kennedy getting in. I think it was Matt Caffrey just fell over on the wrong side, and it might have been Harrison Allen who just managed to slow him from rolling out. They'll take their time over this one and put it down in towards that corner, that far corner of the pitch down by the scoreboard. Plenty of time left for them. 7-8 minutes. And as we said, just one score in it.
That's Caffrey's last action of the game. As he comes out.
To go back though to that Shane O'Leary's kicking, that huge spiral bomb he put up that Adam LeGrew was standing under for what felt like an eternity. I know he didn't catch it cleanly. Terenure, I think they did well in the end to just about recover. And when it comes to kicks like that, it's just about getting the ball away by whatever means possible. It's reminiscent of those George Ford spiral bombs that he puts up right into the sky that just seems to hang up in the air forever, come down with snow on them. So difficult to deal with.
Takes Young Munster into the Terenure 22, and the last time they were down here, Terenure nearly scored a try at the other end. Young Munster need to cut the gap. 22 points to 15. They need 7. With the clock running out. Line out is sloppy but collected from Young Munsters, and Donnacha O'Callaghan looks to go on a little run. A little big carry now as Young Munsters try to edge forward. O'Callaghan through the hands. Tom Goggin onto the deck he goes. Alan Kennedy hands it off to Foley, and Foley looking to breach. Gets up to 5 metres out. Donnacha O'Callaghan looking left and looking right. Decides to go to the left, and Kennedy's there yet again. Ball is loose. Young Munsters have. Christian Keegan Goss towards the line and short. Foley on the carry. John Foley heading towards the line. Harry Fleming stepping this way and that, and he's short. To the hands of Goggin. Tom Goggin. Short again. Donnacha O'Callaghan screaming at his backs to get around and get out. Young Munsters are short, urged on by their fans. O'Callaghan into the hands, and Young Munsters get it on the ground. Referee's checking, and he says held up. The referee says held up over the line. Huge defensive effort from Terenure. And Christian Keegan Goss can't get it on the ground. held up over the line. Terenure will be delighted with that defensive effort.
Oh, it's razor edge stuff here, Dan. I think is it Harrison Brewer who's down injured there at the moment, but what a defensive effort from, I saw Levi Vaughan getting up with the ball, Jordan Coughlin was in there as well, Mike Murphy was making a nuisance of himself, even Craig Adams is in there. Someone is getting their hands in under that ball. We certainly can't see it from this replay in front of us, but we're into these last 5-6 minutes now, and as I said, it's razor wire stuff.
It is on an edge, this game. The dropout from the goal line will be Caelan Dooley's. Player of the Year in the All-Ireland League Division 1A last season.
His last dance.
Referee signals time on and Dooley drops it out, bouncing in front of O'Leary and collected by O'Leary. He's looking for options, and through a gap he goes, and the door closed on him as O'Callaghan brings it out for Kennedy. Kennedy out of one tackle, to the ground he goes. O'Leary through the hands, and Aidan Shortall looks to go, makes a yard or two in the tackle. O'Callaghan for Foley. Foley tipping it on, and Young Munsters look to be isolated here somewhat.
Turnover.
And it is turned over.
Turnover.
Young Munsters were isolated.
Oh, that's a huge moment.
And Terenure get their hands on the ball. Listen to the reaction from the home crowd as Terenure get the penalty. And they will kick it all the way clear. And with about 5 minutes left on the clock, that could be the winning of the game for the home side.
It was Conan O'Donnell who got his hands in over that. Clean steal, knocked to ground. And I think in the end it was just a Young Munster player just couldn't keep his hands off it off the ground when the ball had been turned over. And you could hear the roar going around Lakelands, Dan, when that penalty was given. The home supporters here, there's a great crowd today as well, it has to be said, and a huge number of numbers that have come up the road from Limerick. But that was a huge roar. It was like they'd scored a try, because we're heading into the final 4 minutes or so of this game.
Alan
Just
Kennedy.
one score in it. Extra time and penalty kicks if necessary. Let's not rule that out. Floodlights are on. There've been a few 50p's chucked into the meter.
7 points in it, and 5 minutes left to go as James Horrigan makes his entrance to the pitch. Alan Kennedy, a huge amount of work for the Young Munster captain, but his race is run for today. Terenure have the ball just shy of the halfway line, the possession that they want. And from here, surely they'll just want to control the game and see it out.
It's a good take by Harrison Brewer.
Brewer does well. Wasn't perhaps received where he wanted it. From the back. Young Munsters moving up to put some pressure on. Trying to get their hands on that ball. They need possession if they're to turn this game around. Terenure will run down the clock. 1 out carries at the halfway line. Slow ball. Good game management from the home side.
Oh, it's spilled forward,
And
spill
it's
forward.
Knocked on, and Young Munsters have. This is what they needed. Foley stepping back. Into traffic he goes. To the deck. Shane O'Leary. Massive defensive line speed. And Levi Vaughan makes the tackle. Young Munsters are in their own half. They need to be at the other end of the pitch, but they have hands on the ball. Tom Goggin on the carry. Makes half a yard or so.
Terenure need to start leaving that ball alone on the ground. The one thing they don't want to do is give Young Munsters a penalty and an opportunity to get down into the 22. If Young Munsters are going to get there, Terenure have to make them get there on their own terms.
Shortall. To the deck he goes.
And
Young
there's the
Munsters
penalty.
Get the penalty. Slow to move away was the replacement front row, Conan O'Donnell. And Young Munsters will put this one presumably into touch. as much as O'Leary can get out of this. And it's between the 10 and the 22. Still some distance to go to that try line.
What a finish we have coming up here, Dan. 2 minutes left on our clock. 7 points between them in a cup final. Where else would you rather be?
The clock is against young Munsters, but we thought it would be a nervy ending, and it's heading towards a very nervy ending. The home side and current holders lead by 7 points.
Oh, it's a crooked throw.
And it sounded for all the world as if the hometown made that decision. And the referee blows the whistle and signals the end of the game here at Lakelands as Terenure College RFC retain the Bateman Cup. 2023 winners are now the 2024 winners in Dublin by a score of 22 points to 15. Massive effort from both sides. Huge work rate. Some great pieces of rugby. Terenure showing that they can score from anywhere. Young Munster's working so hard, but alas, not hard enough. And the victory goes to the home side and reigning Bateman Cup champions. Sum that game up for us, Neil.
Oh, what a fantastic 80 minutes, Dan. That was thoroughly and enjoyable. I know maybe I'll be getting a bit excited coming from the purple, black and white side of things in the commentary box today, but just all round I think it was a fantastic game. I know we had a red card in the first half. Thankfully the contest wasn't spoiled because of it. This went right down to the wire. It was two teams that haven't always liked each other but played a brilliant sporting game. Congratulations to Sean Skehan, Andy Skehan and Conor Gildee on the coaching team. Congratulations to all those players as well. I just want to tell everyone, put it in your diary, 10th of February, back up here at Lakelands in a few rounds' time of the All-Ireland League. It's going to be an absolute cracker all over again. But look, congratulations to both teams. It was a brilliant 80 minutes. And Terenure are the champions.
At the halfway line here in Lakelands, the players applauding one another. The end of what was an extremely hard fought battle between these two sides. We'll be able to run a highlights package, some of the big moments in this game over the course of 80 minutes. We will have the trophy presentation and a chat with Terenure captain Harrison Brewer, all of which we will bring you in the next couple of minutes. Bear with us for the trophy presentation. We'll have reaction from Captain Harrison Brewer. Thank you for joining us in the meantime. I've been Dan Mooney on commentary alongside Neil Tracy. Neil, thank you.
Thank you very much, Dan.
Final score at Lakelands was 22 points to Terenure. Young Munsters 15.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for such a large attendance today at this Bateman Cup final between Terenure and Young Munsters. What a fantastic, cracking game we've got here today, with Terenure just coming out on the right side this evening. So, first of all, congratulations to Young Munster for their effort today. A fantastic result to get to the final, and just came up short on the day, but well done to everybody in Young Munsters. And to Terenure, congratulations for a fantastic performance. Great game of rugby, as I said, so well done. You fully deserved your win. Without further ado, I'd like to just thank the referee, our refs from the RFU. Thank you guys, fantastic good game today again, thank you so much. Now I'd just like to hand over to Harrison, Brewer, captain of Terenure, who will call out the players and will present them with their medals.
Number 1, Campbell Classen. Yeah, just fill in there. This way. Yeah. Number 2, Levi Vaughan. Number 3, Mango Chewett. Number 5, Matthew Caffrey. Number 6, Adam Melia. Number 7, Jim White. Number 8, Jordan Coughlin. Number 9, Alan Benny. Number 10, Cal Smith. Number 11, Connor Phillips, or Adam LeGrew. Number 12, Peter Sylvester. 13, Colin de Butler. 14, Connor Phillips. 15, Aaron Egan. 16, Tom Stewart. 17, Conor McCormack, or Conan O'Donnell. Same thing. 18, Conan O'Donnell. 19, Mike Murphy. 20, Tom Coughlin. 21, Stevie O'Neill. 22, Keelan Dooley. And 23, Craig Adams. Get the front there. I'll give it to us.
Harrison Brewer, Terenure College RFC captain, congratulations to you.
Thanks, Mel.
What a battle.
Yeah, Christ, it was. You could certainly feel the Christmas period there in the last couple of minutes, but yeah, credit to Cookies. They're a great outfit. You can see them up front as soon as they get into that 22 drive and just play on top of yourself. They're a great outfit. They beat us down there, and then we have one more shot at them up here again. So yeah, looking forward to it again.
Was there a time early in that second half when the try was scored that there was a sense of the game getting away from you?
Yeah, definitely. Slightly, like you could see, Cookies were just on top of front, and it was trying to manage that period. Talked about inside that the third quarter was going to be difficult because they were playing on top of us. But no, I thought we managed it through well, and then scored that try with ego. So it was good.
In terms of, like, you prepare for games like that, it's one strike, almost a single strike all the way up to score. Is that something that you're preparing for in games, or is this heads up stuff?
Yeah, no, must be. I mean, like, Skinner does a lot of stuff in the background, trying to manipulate opposition with strike plays. He's very good at that. So like we saw in that second phase there was going to be a slight gap, and you saw that ego went straight through. But yeah, no, credit to the coach and staff. They did really well there.
Bit of revenge for the All Ireland League match, or is that not something that enters the head?
No, it must be enters the head. Yeah. I mean, like, they beat us down there a couple of times. It's just it's a tit for tat now at the minute. Both very similar teams. They're a really good side. So looking forward to the next battle now with them.
Smashing. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Mel. Cheers. Thanks, Mel. Cheers, lad.
Very good. Smashing.